Y'all, I keep bumping into this mic. I don't want to get screamed on by ghosts. Third time's a charm, right? Passion public service announcement. Passionate. Passionate. Let me tell you something. So what is this Passion PSA podcast? Who am I? Well, they call me Passion, short for passion, no last necessary. Why is there no last name necessary? Because the first name says it all. I am Passion and all that embodies. What do I do here? I give you the life coaching that you know you need, but don't enroll yourself in. When did I start? Actually, 2017. I'd leave a PSA on my Instagram regarding something I'd observed, and now we've evolved to this. Why do I do it? Why not? If even one person is able to take away one thing that changes their life, someone else's life, or changes the world for the better, then I've done what I was charged to do. So come on in, sit and listen for a while. There's something here for everyone at the Passion PSA podcast. Greetings and salutations, my beloved passionates, newcomers, visitors, and guests. Welcome to another episode of the Passion PSA podcast, where passion no last necessary, because the first name does indeed say it all. You'll get you right, guru. How y'all feel about that tagline? Y'all like that? I'm looking for one I like, so I want to tinker with a few, but I think I'm going to stick with that one. But this is where I issue a weekly public service announcement about whatever I've observed or was on my mind. This is a for your consideration zone where the objective, I don't like the way I was looking, where the objective is to offer you a perspective you may not have considered to A, expand your thinking, and B, for you to become a better version of yourself for yourself and for others. This is a safe space, but not necessarily a delicate one. I'll never rob you of your right to feel what you feel, same way I won't sugarcoat whatever it is I have to say to make it more palatable. The goal is to get you to higher, more expanded thinking so you can operate as your highest and best self, hence the aforementioned tagline. I don't know it all, but I do know a lot, and I'm willing to share it with you if it'll help you get right. It's easy to look at what others are doing wrong and how they could be doing better. It takes so much more to admit when you're the one that's wrong, and more still to actually do the work. Anyway, I keep fixing my dress. If you're new here, we start each episode with affirmations to ensure that regardless of what we discuss and how it may make you feel, we have intentionally started on the highest possible frequency. Today is no exception. So let's shift the energy upward. You are always welcome to repeat after me or to use this time to state your own affirmations. I am comfortable with accountability. I accept responsibility. I honor the importance of redirection. I am willing to pivot. I can pivot whenever I need to. I am open to change. I respect the necessity of evolution. I am evolving. I respect the evolution of others. I accept the evolution of others. I appreciate the evolution of my relationships. I understand that the evolution of others does not require my agreeance. I adjust quickly. I welcome the new. Ashe, ashe, ashe. Y'all, can I tell you the day that I had that inspired this episode? So I get up after like 4 hours of sleep, because I was up working on a different episode. So my intentions for the day were very clear. I want to finish the laundry. I want to put my living room back together because it was and still is looking like 2 tornadoes passed through it. Do not judge me. I wanted to figure out where I could donate some furniture or sell it, write an episode, go to the bank, record, and go kick it with my friend for a little while. A hefty day. I made peace with the plan to kick it on this day. We're going to start there, right? Because that was definitely simmering on the back burner of aggravation. Because this time, right, was supposed to have been spent the day before. Now, my friend had decided to postpone, but never actually asked me if that worked for me or not. I don't like people making decisions for my time. But since I could do it, I decided not to fight about it. I want to give myself ample time to work on this episode. So I decided, let me work on that first. Cool. I'm figuring the excitement of having knocked out the episode will motivate me to comb through the wreckage in the living room, right? Boom. I think about how I want to put the episode together. Now, be advised. I've been researching. I've been amassing what I needed. I've been reviewing. So now that I've done the bulk of the legwork, I just need to put it all together. I decide I want to do it a little differently than I usually do episodes. I start doing the work on that. So that's a lot of editing. A lot. A few hours later, I've made some good progress. A few tweaks that need to be made, a few additions, and then the episode will be done. I reach out to the other person involved in the episode. I say, listen, this is what I've been working on. This is what I have so far. Let me know what you think. I go downstairs to start the laundry, right? I'm taking things off on the list. I get downstairs, I get a text. The episode is a no-go for XYZ reasons. Hours and hours, working on this for hours. So I was trying to get it just right. I have like one more hurdle to get over, and the rest is easy peasy. But when it all falls down, I'm telling you it all falls down. So the wash gets done successfully. Every dryer is empty, right? Except the ones I want to use. I'm trying to wait it out because I brought the wash down in 2 trips. So what I wanted to do was wash the first few loads, get them in a dryer, start the next loads so the dryers will be stopping when the next load stop. Time is marching onward though, right? And I told the homie I was pulling up at a very specific time. Bet. Let me just take these other dryers that don't dry as well. Start loading the dryers. The lady whose stuff is in the dryers I want, she comes back downstairs. I ask her if I can have those dryers. She still needs one, but she clears out the other one, lets me have it. Bet. I put the card in the card reader, press start. Error message. This is a minor annoyance because I get this error message literally almost every time I dry. But this time, it doesn't start on a second try, or the third, or the fifth. Go to the other dryer because surely it's just this dryer that's the problem. After all, I just did like 6 or 7 loads of wash with no issue. Lies. This dryer won't start either. Whole time I'm thinking to myself, I gotta shift my energy because I know that the snowball doesn't start with the one bad thing. The snowball starts with the response to the one bad thing. Write that down. So many of us believe in Murphy's Law, right? Anything that can go wrong will. That's the law. But the reality is, our feelings around the thing that went wrong determines the energy that's being emitted from us and thusly attracting according to our energy and often the words that we're using. Let me give you an example. Something negative happening upsets us and we follow that up with what else could go wrong. None of that is important right now. Back to the story. I take the laundry card over to the card reader. It's reading just fine. So now I'm thinking, okay, these dryers aren't starting, but they're sure taking money off of this card. Let me go get the other card. It's upstairs. So these things aren't started. The clothes that are washing are about to finish. One washer doesn't have enough fabric softener because I was supposed to be upstairs getting that while I'm playing musical dryers. I go upstairs to get the other card and the fabric softener. The card isn't there because it's been in my back pocket this whole time. I go back downstairs, I add money to it, but I say to myself, let me try the other card again. Well, lo and behold, the card magically starts working. New dilemma. If everything is coming out of the dryer at the same time, I'm still going to have to make 10,000 trips because my buggy isn't big enough. This was why I was doing it in sets in the first place. I'm looking at the time. Time is ticking forward, and I could make it for the agreed upon time, but at this point in the juncture, I'm having an argument in my head. I'm saying, I shouldn't even go. The way the night is going, I need to just go to bed. Self is saying, why are you punishing yourself? And why are you going to dub one friend for what happened with the other friend? Now I'm like, boy, this wouldn't even be a consideration if somebody didn't decide to change the plans. Self is like, all right, but you agreed to it. So that's petty. So I decide I'm going to go. But I need to see this laundry through. I keep thinking, I need a win. I need for something to be completed tonight. The living room is a dub. The episode is now trash. I need for something to be complete before the night is over. I text the homie. I'm like, I'm going to come, but not at the agreed upon time. Life is taking an unpleasant and unexpected turn. In the meantime, I'm trying to figure out if there's any way to salvage this episode. I'm not upset with my friend for their feedback. But this was a monkey wrench I simply didn't have time for. I get everything upstairs and I'm folding and I'm thinking about what the lesson in all of this was. Since I had to pivot, I'm thinking maybe I should write about pivoting. We hear so often how important it is to be able to pivot when things go unexpectedly or not according to plan. And it is highly important. And this would have been the perfect time to talk about that. But it occurred to me that this episode needed to be a throwback to my brilliant friends. That's the previous pod that I'm always referring to, for those of you who don't know. So, you know when you watch a commercial and then they give you the terms and conditions in 5 times speed and they say some exceptions apply? That's all I kept hearing and thinking when I was struggling with the dryers. And then it occurred to me, we need to talk about if the same terms still apply. And before I get into it, I chose this as the follow-up to consistency, the previous episode, because pivots and things changing unexpectedly or inconveniently is another reason we lose track and become inconsistent. It seems like a reasonable enough excuse, but it's not. Things will come up. Life is happening for everyone, not just you. If your redirect causes you to change course altogether, that's a choice. But if you don't have to change course, and that's not what you're choosing, either choose to get with it or remember that it's you versus you. It's a challenge, not a difficulty. If you lose too much momentum or too much ground, you'll be starting over from scratch, and that won't be because of the pivot. It'll be because of your decision to handle the pivot the way you did. Terms and conditions. You know, when you open an account with just about anything online, you have to click a box to say you've read the privacy and policy and the privacy policy and terms and conditions. Now, most of us don't actually read the terms and conditions or the privacy policy, but we click the box and we bypass whatever it is that's contained therein, all in an effort to get to what we ultimately want to get to. It's only after things don't go our way or we want some type of recompense for services or product not received, and the company's retort is, per our policy, that most of us take time to now fine-tooth comb every statement, every clause, every subsection, to see what it was we agreed to in the first place. And too often in relationships of any nature, we take the same approach. We jump into jobs based on the pay or hours, but not knowing if the company has a history of racism, how many sexual misconduct allegations have been levied, what the overall company values are. How many jobs have you applied to and never once, not once, went on the company website to see what the mission statement was? How much do you know about the company you currently work for? How much of what you know is because you voluntarily did the research versus you going to some company function, like an off-staff meeting, and them drilling into your head, our founding principles, yada, yada. Some people are very skeptical and leery about who they call friend, but we're out here socializing, carousing, and gallivanting with people regularly enough that spectators might assume your relationship is deeper, right? Or even the people with whom we're spending this time, they may think that there's a deeper bond. And we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on that because that ground was covered in the previous pod. This isn't about interviewing people at the beginning of the relationship. This is about the necessary check-in throughout the relationship. And yes, we talked about that in the previous pod. We're going to touch it a little differently today. Those same terms and conditions that we love to ignore, what do they advise? The terms are subject to change and at any time for any reason without notice. In other words, it's your responsibility to ensure what, if anything, has changed. And if you're on board with the new terms and conditions, or if you're ready to take leave of that relationship. When was the last time you checked in with someone and you made sure things are the same? When the job posts some new change, so many of us get bent all the way out of shape. We know every rule. We know every regulation, every policy. We know what page of the handbook that the original rule was on. But we don't remember all those specifics when we're in violation. Are you dating or in some type of committed, intimate relationship? When was the last time you had a check-in date? When was the last time you opened up the space for your partner to say, yeah, that thing you do that I used to love, I hate it, and I wish you stop. And I'm not talking about we have good communication. My partner can tell me whatever, whenever. I'm talking about dedicated time where you intentionally open up the space and give your partner the floor to tell you things that you may not have expected to hear. Time where you ask, what's up? What's new? What's good? What needs improvement? Is this still a go? Do I still have the green light for this? When was the last time you did a SWOT analysis on your relationship? You probably haven't, because most of us want or act like relationships are supposed to work themselves out. We've never seen that happen successfully, but because we don't want to be bogged down with more work, since there's so much we already need to work on, we let the relationship fall into ruin and either scramble to fix it when it's too late or let it die and assign blame as we see fit. None of this is actually healthy or productive. But at the thought of the work, at the thought of it being this daunting task, we throw the chips in the air and let them fall where they may. Okay, how does this tie into story time? There was a conversation that was had at one time, and it was stated directly. Don't be surprised if you hear this again in a Passion Public Service announcement, because I'm probably going to listen back to this message, take notes, and record a PSA. And the response was, that definitely needs to be a PSA. Now, in all fairness, they did not give express consent for their likeness to be used in any way. And I wouldn't have put them on Front Street without confirming that it was okay. I actually had no intention of using their likeness either. I intended to make necessary adjustments, but I don't know if that translated properly in our communication. Irrelevant. And really, it's neither here nor there. The bottom line, there was a check-in that was necessary, but not enacted to the extent it needed to be, to spare them the concern of their opinions being shared in a public space, and to spare me the work that was done for what felt like nothing, but I guess was the long road to get me to this episode. The point is, at the beginning, when I started this project, I started it based on old permissions. I was adhering to the terms and conditions that were in place at the time of the conversation. The terms were updated, but I hadn't checked in to ensure that there were no new terms, no new conditions, nothing added, nothing removed, and nothing that I wasn't on board with. Now, could friend have said, BT Dub, I know you're planning on using some of our talks in the pod, so please make sure these parameters are respected? Sure. But that wasn't necessarily friend's responsibility. And you know what? Even if it was, I'll take the responsibility for it, because it was me that wanted to do something with the information. And with my scenario, it was very specific. And as inconvenient as it wasn't impossible to pivot. Irritating, but not impossible. Sometimes it's not that cut and dry. Moreover, sometimes it's not that easy to take when you're on the receiving end of someone else's changes. That happens so often in intimate relationships, especially, but not limited to physically intimate. One partner thinks everything is fine, and when they find out that it has indeed all fallen down or is on the road to ruin, while they may want to see their partner happy and thriving, no one really wants their comfort disrupted for someone else's comfort. Now, here's where I want you to challenge yourself. If it was your job telling you something has to stop immediately, would you walk off the job on the spot, or would you just adjust? Most of us would find a way to adjust. We might complain our way through, but we would make the necessary adjustments so as not to lose our livelihood or our income source. So when the people with whom you're in relationship present new terms, when they present new conditions, it's the same thing. First off, if they're not bringing value to you and you're holding on to them, you need to ask yourself what underlying issue you have, because whether it's attachment, it's pity, or it's fear, an issue is present and needs to be addressed post haste. But if they bring value to you and you want to continue the relationship, you're going to have to make adjustments. Now, this doesn't mean that these new terms can't be negotiated, right? They may be coming with something that's over the top, and you may have some counter terms for them, right? So you want to negotiate, and that's cool. That does not mean that everything is negotiable. If you and I have footage and I want to share it and you don't want it shared, that's not really negotiable. That becomes a legal matter quickly. But in line with what we're discussing, if it's old footage that I shared previously, and since it was shared, you've made changes in your life and no longer want it posted, that's a new term. And me thinking it's funny or it's cute or thinking, well, it's not a big deal because we know that's everybody's favorite, that doesn't make it okay for me to not honor the new terms. Let's go a step further. What if this footage has been a major money maker for me, and now because my friend has made changes in their life, they want me to remove it, but that'll disrupt my cash flow? And that's not what happened in my scenario, right? But what if it was? This person has new terms. Bigger than that, everyone has a right to evolve. Evolution doesn't mean whatever happened yesterday or in yesteryear is erased. And not everything that you no longer want to celebrate is because it's embarrassing or a bad thing. They're just some things that you want to separate from. So do I say to hell with you and your evolution? Do I say nothing comes between me and my brat? That's what a lot of people would say. And if you're in a tight financial position, you might feel like that's the only answer. But how many people have to sell their soul for the love of money? Because real talk, this is why a pod like this is as vital as financial literacy. Having money is cool, but there's a certain mentality that's required to get to major earner status. Now, I could be wrong, but I'm not. Tune into anyone that's making real bank right now that wasn't before, and they'll tell you in a heartbeat that they had to change their mindset. Throwing away someone of value because they've made a request that you feel is interrupting your cash flow is a poor man's decision, and here's why. A wealthy man took the time or will take the time to figure out how to make the money multiply itself. Losing or forfeiting one income stream only opens the door for you to acquire another. Income streams are abundant if your mind is abundant. Quality people aren't necessarily lesser abundant, but sometimes you have to wash and scrape away years of muck and mire in order to get to their greatness. Someone who's already shown you they're worthwhile to hold on to, they should be worth the sacrifice. And if you do the advanced work, if you check in and check up, if you read the new terms and updated privacy policies instead of just clicking accept, without knowing what you're agreeing to, you may not have to choose between the friend and the situation. And if it does come down to that, if you've done all that you could, burn the ship, but make sure it's worth it. Make double sure you don't burn the bridge. My bridges and ship, they're still intact, y'all. I just wanted you to think about that. Think about it every time you ignore one of those emails that says privacy policy updates. Think about it every time you click the box that you accept the terms and conditions you haven't read. Think about it when you decide to post something with someone else's likeness in it. Think about it when you plan an outing with your friends just to grab something to eat. That's an opportune time. Capitalize on that time. One of those times that you decided, let's go out, make dedicated time to ensure that all systems are go and there are no major updates that you need. It'll save you stress and could save you work down the line. What's your feedback, Passionates? Comment below. Send your listener letters to mybrilliantfriendpassion@gmail.com. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, What One Woman Does Network. Subscribe on your preferred platform. Help me broaden my reach so I can help more people help themselves. Donations can be made on the Podbean page, through my Linktree, and via Cash App. Donation receipts can be provided for tax purposes. And I think that's it for housekeeping. Go forth. Be great, be filled with bliss, be armed and empowered with knowledge. Don't skip the terms and conditions in any agreement you enter. In all things, be passionate. See you later.